This video is where I make a card using 4 different parameters that were chosen in this week's Craft Roulette. Let's see how far I have to stretch them this week. Let's find out. All right, these parameters, I'm not gonna lie, they're throwing me for a loop a little bit. I don't have a finished card in my mind. I know that I have elements, the parameters that I have to follow. So I'm going to approach this card a little differently. I'm going to just start working on the parameters and then build the card from it. So for instance, like the wreath, I have this wreath die. Well, I picked the colors, right? Because you got to work from the colors. So I Googled 70s color palette just to have something. I mean, I had ideas in my mind, but I like to do that, and then I just keep referring back to that. So here's what I pulled. I'm going to pop it up on the screen over here. And then, so that was, now that I have that, I then pulled a bunch of scraps in those colors to build this wreath. So that's what I'm going to do first. And then after that, I'll work on the pre-printed, which I may use these. These are sheets that I do on my computer of sentiments, and I make them a size that I can use my die cuts. This is a stitch die cut. So I may use one of these. I may not. I want to build the wreath first and then go from there. Now, this wreath set has like acorns and fall leaves and some flowers. I think I'm just going to go with the flowers. I'm not feeling fall right now. It's 95 degrees out. Pulled these butterflies that are good size with this wreath. I don't think I'll use this, thanks, but you never know. I pulled this because I thought that this might look cute with the wreath. But I don't know, with the little bird, but we'll see. And then I also pulled this die cuts because of this flowers, because there's not a lot of flowers, because it was, acorns and things like that. So I might add some more of these flowers in these colors. So that is my plan. So the first thing I'm going to do is build this wreath and then go from there. Okay, I've officially made a mess of my desk, cut out some flowers. I think I'm anticipating I will have to cut out some more, so I didn't put anything away. But I want to get started before I cut out too many. So I cut out 2 shades of green wreaths. I'm going to line them up differently so they kind of pop out a little bit. I think I'm going to put the lighter one on top, just kind of twisting it. I think I like it there. And then I put some wax paper scraps down. You know what I'm gonna do, because it wasn't big, these scraps aren't big enough for the wreath. I'm actually gonna put a little piece of tape, washi tape, that on the back of this to keep it together. Yeah, that's good. Okay, there we go. So now I have to glue this, this to this. I think I'm gonna ink it. It's a little fragile, but I think if I put it on the grip mat, it'll work, because I feel like it's a little flat right now. All right, let me do that. All right, let's start with this piece. Push it down. Okay, let me get my ink chart. Screen. I'm gonna go with, I thought there might be a darker one. I'm gonna go with Rustic Wilderness. Oh wait, I gotta pick the light one, which is this scrap. Oh, I'm looking at oxides. That's not gonna help. I don't want to do oxides. Where's my, here are my inks. Still gonna be Rustic Wilderness. and mowed lawn. Okay. This. It's pretty subtle. I'm probably gonna dry back even more. Should I do a darker green in some spots? Technically it's a blue, so let me get a different brush. Let's see how this looks. Ooh. Ooh, this is juicy. Maybe I should try it here on a scrap. Just see how much blue it looks. No, it looks good. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Okay. All right, let's try it again. Awesome. You know what? I'm gonna do these leaves. I might have to do more. Let's start with those. Oh, I'm so much liking this blue on this green. It's kind of like a dark teal than the original, what was that? Rustic Wilderness. I mean, maybe, you know, these little cubes I know don't have as much ink as the full size. So maybe that's contributing, or it's just not a dark enough color. This is working out much better. I like the way that looks a lot. Awesome. Now let me do the other green. Okay. What did I say? Mowed lawn. I'm gonna do a test on this. Yeah, I feel like mowed lawn is dark enough on this lighter color, so that's good. That worked out pretty good. I'm happy with that. Okay, I'm going to start out by inking each color that I've cut out. I might have to add more colors, more die cuts of the colors later. Okay, so I've made a big old mess of my desk because I don't want to put anything away because I don't know if I'm done with any of the shapes, papers, inks. I don't know. I'm going to know more after I assemble this. Let me take these. Let me take these pieces. A tray to put all these pieces would be super helpful, but I don't have one that's not full of pieces that are cut already for other projects. So that's great. So let's just pick these off. This mat. Okay, let's assemble this wreath, or at least start to. I need a leaf. I need a wing. This had a eye die cut, but I decided I'm going to use a pen. Okay. And my other little guy. Okay. Also in this die set, I did not see a beak, and I feel this bird needs a beak. So I cut out another feather, and I'm going to put it underneath just the little tip. I'm going to wait for the wings. Oh, I finally got it right. The wings to dry a bit before I move it. So I'm going to push these over to the side. And let's put the roof on our birdhouse. Okay. Let's put it straight. Now I think I'm going to put black behind those because I don't want the green behind those holes. So let me get a scrap of black. Okay, I went to my trusty tiny-ish scrap bin. After I cut die cuts, I just throw it in there for stuff like this. Yeah, I think that is better to put black behind it. And that is good. Okay, these should be dry enough to add some beaks. Okay, there's one, and there's two. There we go. Okay. All right, so let's put our birdhouse here. And I'm only gonna put, I think I want to put flowers under him. So I'm gonna put a little glue right here, and then I'll glue it more later, so I can slip some flowers under if I want to. Lisa from the future here. I figured I would speed this part up. I kind of moved the flowers around a bit and really tried to figure out where I was going to put them. I didn't want the wreath to be too heavy or not enough flowers, so I moved them around quite a bit. Now in the beginning of the video, I kept talking about probably needing to cut more flowers because I didn't feel like I cut enough. I ended up having actually several, not a ton, but several at the end left over, so I actually calculated pretty good. Now, the middles that go to these flowers, I didn't even pay attention to what went with what. I just started building with what I had in front of me, trying to make the colors balanced and not looking too busy. I really did like the way it came out in the end, but it took me a little while to move them around and see what I liked. This wreath die cut was definitely a labor of love. It took me a little bit to get everything cut out, everything inked, and then everything in the right spot, and then glued down. But it was fun. It definitely got ink and glue all over my fingers, which isn't a bad thing. I highly recommend using the wax paper for die cuts like this, where the glue is going to seep out, because I didn't get any glue on my surface, and that hardly ever happens. I got a roll of it at the Dollar Tree. Okay. Step 2, because I would say step 1 was picking colors. Step 2, build the wreath, is done. Oh no, now I have to move on. I had that step that I knew how I wanted to do it. Now I have to figure out the next part. I'm going to clean this up while this dries and start thinking. Okay, now I'm going to take my pieces and assemble the card. So these are my labels that I printed out on the computer and I cut out using those dies. I cut them a bunch out and I'm going to put them in this little baggie and then I'll have them for next time. So I'll put them over to the side. And then my wreath is all finished, being glued. It is nice and solid. This is the pre-printed piece that I'm going to use. And I decided to go with white cardstock to match the white, because otherwise there's no white anywhere. So to kind of tie it back. And I have this this piece of pre-printed cardstock in the same colors, the groovy colors, 70s. That I'm going to put there, and I have the little white border around, and then this is my postcard. It's the postcard cut, and I'm going to use on that this postcard stamp for my postcard. It's stretching it a little, but that's okay. All parameters are doable when you put on your stretchy pants. Now, should I ink the edges of this? I think I should, but let's ink this up first. All right, let's ink this up in vintage photo. I am not good with these wood stamps. I've taken the back wood piece off a few of them, like old ones. They just peel right off a lot of times, but this one's actually newer. I actually bought this one at like Hobby Lobby or Michael's, so I don't know if it's gonna come off. All right. Oh, well, that's all right because it's gonna be stressed anyway, but see what I mean? Not good with this. Getting it straight is like a miracle. All right, let's see. Yeah, not bad. Okay, and let's ink the edges. And then put that over to dry a little bit. And I'll put this on. I'm just going to eyeball it as I always do. Okay. Put my postcard on. Okay. All right. That looks cute. I'm just gonna glue this down. This card, I feel like, really, for me, was a good example of all parameters are doable, because I really didn't have a plan much. I kind of just went with steps instead, and I think it ended up being a cute card. I picked the colors, stuck with it. You know, I had a little picture of the palette, the color palette, and then went with the wreath, and then figured out the printed, and then figured out the postcard, and got it done. And I think it actually came out cute. All right, let's put this on. I'm going to put that under. And then I'll put a little glue underneath these leaves. That is done. That actually, considering I did not have a plan, came out cute. All right, parameter check. Postcard, right here, check. 70s colors. I went with this color palette when I searched 70s color palette, which pink, blue, green, and yellow. And then was pre-printed, which this label and this paper was pre-printed. Right? That was 4 of them, right? Oh, and the wreath. How could I forget that? Awesome. I did it again. Yay. I hope this helps when you think, ugh, how am I going to do those parameters? Because I kind of thought that. But then Mary always says all parameters are doable, and she's always right. You can get it done. Just instead of thinking of a whole card, just do it in steps. Thanks so much for watching. Have a crafty day.